This week on Squats and Margaritas, it's award-winning actress and producer Edwina Findley. You know her from HBO's The Wire, If Loving You Is Wrong, on OWN. She's currently starring in a new Amazon sci-fi drama, The Power. She's also a sought-after motivational speaker and founder of Abundant Life U, a nonprofit that brings wellness, financial literacy, and career development programs to vulnerable communities nationwide. Edwina talks a lot about faith, and I want to talk about following the signs to find your purpose and trusting that that's exactly what you're supposed to do, even when other people are doubting it. I want to talk about raising daughters. She's got 2 young girls. How do we raise them with positive body image and self-confidence? How does she balance all the things? Please do me a favor and hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this episode. And please consider leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts. Here is my episode with Edwina Findley. I have been on a recent spiritual journey. You wouldn't even believe like some of the signs and things that have been happening. Well, maybe you would. Not everyone would.
I probably would.
You probably would. But I just feel like you're coming into my life exactly when I'm opening myself up to these things, and things like that keep happening. I had no idea that, like, listening to you, how much you were faith-based and faith-driven and talking about signs. And I wanted you to share your story. I know you always wanted to be an actress and you went to a performing arts high school, but there isn't always a lot of support around saying that that's what you're going to do with your career. Can you talk about how you just kind of stayed steadfast in what was for you and how you went about confirming that it was for you?
Yes. I mean, with my experience, I can't speak for others, but there's been a natural path and then there's been a very supernatural path. And so some people in interviews want to know about the natural path. You went to school and you did this and you did that. And what did you do? And so, yes, I did all the things, right? But as we know, to become an actor in this business, I think it's 1% of the people that actually pursue acting actually are able to make, I want to say maybe even $5,000 a year at it.
Wow.
Like, there's incredible statistics, and they're very sad. And listen, I understand. I feel grateful every day, but for me, it was really about, is this God's plan for my life? And if it's not, I'm willing to let it go. And I feel like so much of my life has been about obedience and surrender, has been about faith and believing, like if God's telling me something is going to happen, really believing it, but also being willing to say, if this is not the plan, I will submit my plan to yours. And I feel like that's opened up doors that I never could have created for myself.
Yeah.
So with me, yes, I went to performing arts school in DC, Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And that gave me an opportunity as a young person to really travel all over the world, which was amazing, singing and dancing. And, they really were intentional about opening doors, especially for underserved youth, which was amazing artistically. And then I went to NYU, studied acting there. And in between each transition, I really prayed, God, what am I going to do with my life? I'm 16 years old. Am I supposed to go to school for acting, or should I get, a regular job or a safe job like I'm being taught or told, by some of my family members, some of the people I look up to are encouraging me to do something stable. And I feel like that's when I first remember hearing God's voice, when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
And I knew that he was saying, I am sending you into the entertainment industry, and also that he was going to open a door for me in New York specifically.
Wow.
And so that's what ended up happening. I ended up going to school for New York, going to school in New York. And then around that time of, okay, I'm about to leave school. This is so scary. What do I do now? And I prayed. And I said, God, I have to be able to pay my bills. I need to exit, and it just became a real journey between he and I,
Yeah.
what is this life going to look like? And so I pursued all these different jobs, but I was blessed with one, working with a psychologist. And he was leading these workshops all over New York City. And this was right after 9/11. So the spirit of the city was very low. But he kind of sent me out into these housing projects and just all over New York, to lead these empowerment workshops for women.
Yeah.
And I'm 21 years old, I'm half their age,
Yeah.
but it just became this whole like these rock star events, and we were dancing and singing and, and laughing and creating vision boards. And it was really about how do we, myself included, how do we create a life that's bigger than the one that we're living right now?
Hmm.
And so as I was taking these women on this journey, I found myself on my own journey, and it was very spiritual. And it kind of also just opened up the door for God to just start flooding me with messages of what he was going to do, where I was going to go. And so, yeah, years later, I received a prophetic word that I was going to be working with Tyler Perry and that I was going to be filming in Georgia at his studio. And of course, now I have
Yeah.
filmed with Tyler Perry at his studio in Georgia and have a star on Tyler's Walk of Fame that he presented me with, commemorating that experience that's still right there on that studio lot. I received a prophetic word that I was going to be filming in London, and actually to even name my baby London, because God was going to be opening a door for my family in London.
My God.
And here we are. I've just finished filming The Power in London. My baby's name is London, and my
Yes.
husband, same thing. So, you're going to marry this person. It was very specific. And I just find that it takes patience, right? It
Yes.
requires patience. It requires a lot of faith to trust what God is saying to you, and also to be able to wait until that time of manifestation. But I like to always tell people it's going to be worth the wait on the other side.
Yes. That's, you call it waiting season, because you're like, I hear that I'm going to have these things. And it's like, all right, let's go. And you
Come
have
on,
to
let's
just, yes. But it's like you use that time to, I think you said, make yourself ready for that. Like you believe this is coming and it's not here yet. So during that waiting season, like you're patient, but you're also preparing for the thing because you know that it's coming and you trust that it's coming. How do you stay with your goal when maybe there were people that are like, are you sure about that? Like, I have a nonprofit for teen girls that are struggling with body image and self-worth. And I've never felt this kind of fulfillment. I know it's what I'm supposed to do, but other people in my life are kind of stuck with me saying I was just going to be a stay-at-home mom. And now I've had this pivot, and I know, and it's the same thing. I will ask for signs, and I mean, smack you in the face signs. Like it scares me when I will ask for clarity on something. I will pray for clarity, and the next day you can't deny it. So I know, but how do I like
yeah,
bring people on that are part of your life for the
yeah.
journey? And there was something you said, you guard that part of your heart when you're passionate about something, and kind of turn away from the people that you love during that time.
Mhm. Wow, that's a great question. First of all, yes, trust the confirmations that you are being given.
Yeah.
For me, a big time when that happened for me was actually moving to Los Angeles and coming to Hollywood, because
Hmm.
I had no intention of moving across the country. At that time, it wasn't like I had this huge surplus of money.
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of tangible sense. But literally, I heard God's voice. I heard God's voice said that he's sending me to LA. And then I was invited to come speak in LA. I spoke in LA. The next day, a friend of mine invited me to Runyon Canyon. We hiked up to the top, and I just knew I was having this spiritual experience up there. And then we got back down. There was a sign that I saw. I squinted to see it from the top of Runyon Canyon, and I couldn't make out all the words. I'm begging my friend to help me piece together the words, and it was something about this sign that was drawing me. And he's like, Edwina, come on, right? We're spending too much time up here. So I reluctantly left, went to the bottom of the hill. But then he asked me, have you given any thought to coming out here? I think you do really well here. And I said, this has been an amazing trip, but my agents aren't supportive of me coming out here. I have no physical like
Yes.
signs, or no
Right.
opportunities, nothing tangible that would make me move my life across the country. And he said, Edwina, you can't keep letting them control your life. You can't keep letting them control your career.
Mm.
This is about you. And I said, well, listen, God also hasn't given me a sign, right? Like, even if I step away from people, I still need to be able to know that God's got my back.
Yeah.
and that he's the one that's going to be opening a door for me. And so my friend kind of rolled his eyes like, oh, you're always being so deep. But, my last night, 2 days later, my last night in LA, I'm walking with another friend. It's pitch black outside, and my camera takes a picture by itself and it just flashes.
What?
And so I turn over the camera. So she's looking at me, I'm looking at her like, how did that even happen?
Right.
Turn it over, and inside of my camera, up close and perfectly framed, is the picture. I mean, that I struggled to see from the
No.
top of the mountain 2 days prior.
Oh my God.
Now up close and perfectly framed in my phone. And it said, from Harlem to Hollywood, you're a star. Congratulations.
I have full body goosebumps, my whole body. Oh my God. Like, yes. And
Yes. I get back to New York the next day, and guess what? My agent drops me. They call and drop me. I was like, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? But then I realized there were two things that I said would prevent me from moving and from
yeah.
stepping out. It was my agency and revelation from God. And within
Oh.
24 hours, he handled that. And then it was just a faith walk of, okay, I'm willing. I surrender. I will go. I have no idea what this journey looks like, but I will go. And months later, literally, I felt an impression to get up and go to this Bible study in Manhattan. I'm like, by the time I get to the Bible study, it's going to be over. Why am I going there? But I went there, and I just felt led to pray over this woman while I was there, prayed for her, and turned out that she was the creator of a show that I had been dying to be a part of. And
Yeah.
she got me an audition for it. And that show brought me to Hollywood.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
So this is the supernatural journey
I'm here
that
for
goes
it.
that goes under the natural journey. And so I just want to say, if there are people in your life, which there are always going to be people in your life
But
that do not believe what you believe and what you know in your heart, one thing I had to break free of is validation. I've had to go on a
I get
journey of breaking free of validation. That someone else seeing the vision is not what determines whether or not the vision is real. That's not
yes.
what determines it,
Good.
how many people see it. So
Yeah.
that's number one. Number two is, if it's someone that is inextricably connected to your life, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes it's about them just catching up. I've definitely, like, I'm married, experienced many times where I've seen something so strongly, and my husband has been like, no, 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 I don't see that for us, or I don't see that for me, or I don't see that for him. And I'm like, but God is showing me, like, I feel this so strongly. And sometimes it takes even a couple of years for your partner
Mm.
up with. I know you're like, who wants to wait a couple years? I understand. But, God showed me, wow, maybe 6 years before my husband and I got married, that we were going to get married.
Happy for
Sometimes
you.
it's hard when God shows you the future. It's like,
Yes.
everybody else is not necessarily going to see it, but it will happen. It will happen. And you just have to pray for the other person. You have to pray that God will manifest, what he's saying in the appointed time. And then you also have to pray for yourself that you will be strong enough to withstand the storms that come in the midst of the journey.
But at what point do you just keep withstanding the storm? Like what you were saying, I've been like knocked down by these, like I asked for clarity. Here it is.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I don't even need validation. I know that it's right. But
Right.
when it's someone that is in your life that is very much intertwined in your life, and it is making it almost harder.
Yeah.
At what point do you just step into your path and your purpose and like turn away from that person? Like,
the issue, I think, is really, how does this person begin to see you in a new light and support and respect you in a new light? And my experience has been that therapy has really helped with that, has helped with both my spouse and I being able to see each other through a new lens, right? And respect the journey that each of us is on, and give each other space for our journey. Like
Yeah.
he may not always understand. My husband is very entrepreneurial, right? Like I may not always understand how he's putting things together or what his vision looks like as far as the pieces and where the path is going. But I have to trust and respect it, right? And then pray for him, encourage him, even if I don't know the path myself or I have opinions of what it should be.
Have you ever had your human design done or human design read?
I don't even know what that is.
People say their sign, like I'm a Sagittarius, but
Oh,
human design is based on what time you were born, like where the moon was and what time in your where you were born. So instead of saying you're a whatever your sign is, your sun
okay.
sign, it's a different sign. It is so accurate. And I found out that I'm a sacral generator. I feel things in my body. And when I had this read, they were like, do you ever just get a feeling to go? It's like when you were talking, I was like, I bet you're a sacral generator. Like you get
Mm,
these feelings in your body and it doesn't make sense. And you're
mm,
like, no, this isn't right. Or she's like, you're driving your kids to soccer practice and something is telling you to turn left. And then there has been something there, or something was
ooh,
telling you to look at that sign. The butterfly, like once my neighbor, the butterfly was one thing. Once my neighbor she didn't put her car in park and she's 75 and she was literally being dragged by her car across my front lawn. And I could have been anywhere in my house. Something in my body was like, go to the front door. And I went and I see her and I saved her. Like I jumped over and they were like, your human
oh,
design is a sacral feeling around other
oh,
people's safety. And when
whoa,
I found out about this, I was like, I wonder if because the feelings, and I understand you when we're talking about this. And I feel like some people are like, coincidence, but like, when you ask for something and then it's confirmed and you
yes,
get these feelings, like
yes.
I wondered if we had the same human design. We should talk about maybe your movie, your new
Oh,
Amazon
hey.
Prime, before I just take all of this as a therapy session when you thought you were coming on to talk about your show. So
I
please
feel like a
talk to
bait
me
and
about
switch.
The Power. It's out now.
The Power is so exciting. It is a 9-part global thriller, and it really centers on these young women who develop the power to be able to electrocute people at will, right? And
Oh.
so it's this new gene that develops in their body that at first they don't know what it is, and it begins in different parts of the world, and it spreads, it spreads, it spreads, it spreads. And my character is named Helen, and she's the chief of staff to Mayor Clary Lopez, played by the wonderful Toni Collette.
Mhm.
And we are pretty much running Seattle, Washington, where we live and where we serve in government. And we're trying so hard to get ahead of this thing because it's become this global phenomenon. And eventually it spreads from young girls to older women. And we have to negotiate, how do we handle the power when we're given it? How do
Mm.
when we step into our power, what does that look like? What are we going to use it for good, for evil, for corruption, for uplift? And so throughout this journey, you're seeing, how power is negotiated. And you're also seeing a real huge gender balance, shift in our society where men are the ones who are shaking in their boots when they're walking down the street at night by themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And, they're afraid to cross another woman, when she gets upset. And it's like, oh, wow, look at that. How do men begin to handle it when women step into their power? So
Oh.
a lot of, some of the themes that we've talked about today are,
Uh-huh.
are reflected within the series. And I'm just really grateful to be a part of it. It's led by women. Um, all women writers, women directors,
Wow.
predominantly a producing staff of women. So it was just wonderful to be a part of it.
And talking about women having power and strong women, you're raising two strong women. Talk to me about how you make sure that they know their worth and make sure that they have a positive body image. Cause as I mentioned, like I struggled for so long and my mom was always on diets and I
Mm,
just don't want to perpetuate this to my daughter. So just how you're making sure that they are not coming up that way.
yeah. Raising two African American daughters, I will say, I mean, it 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 is beautiful and wonderful and exciting because there are more images in the world. There are
Yes.
more positive examples in the world. And when I say in the world, I mean within the scope of media that they can see that we can talk
Ariel, the
TV,
new Little
right? Like
Mermaid.
there's a black Ariel coming, or my daughter and I were just reading, there's an actress named Danai Gurira who just gave us a book about Michelle Obama for my daughters, and I'm reading it with them. And that prompted my daughter, my 6-year-old, to say, Mommy, I want to be the first African American female president.
Love it.
Victoria Rose is 6, but she has got that in her mind. And she said, Mommy, I want you to enroll me in president school. Now she's on this president school journey, and I've got to either find one or we can come together and create one. And so I just love that they're able to learn about and see examples of African American women that can show them their beauty and their worth. At the same time, I would say their first racist experiences were probably at 2 and 3 years old.
No.
Called names, crying on the playground, people talking about their hair, their skin color. And that's been really difficult for me as a mom because I'm like, these girls are so beautiful.
Mm,
How is it that at this young age, this systematic racism has gotten to little children where
yeah.
they have started perpetuating it on my children at such young ages? And so, for me, like we have these Bible mantras. And so one day my daughter came home and she's like, she said a child's name, said that I look scary because I have black skin.
Oh my God.
And another day she came home and said, another child's name. Well, they told me that I'm not supposed to leave the house because if I do, and I'm a black person, that the police will kill me.
Oh my, how old is your child that asked you?
6. And listen, these comments began at age 4, but then the racial comments started at age 2. So it's very difficult to to hold them close and to protect them from any kind of racial or physical opposition being brought to them. But one of the things I've tried to intentionally do is to develop an internal sense of self-esteem. And so I
Yes.
say, Victoria Rose, but what is the truth about you? Is that the truth or is that a lie? She said, that's a lie, Mommy. I said, so what is the truth? I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I am made in God's image. I am beautiful and lovely. I am unique and powerful. And so like really
Yes.
rehearsing these things over and over. My hope is to drown out those negative voices and to really make that internal voice so strong that she will go to that voice first. When she hears something that's different from that, then she'll go back to that stronger voice that's telling her the beauty and worth that she has and that they both have.
What fabulous advice. I wrote it down. What is the truth? And
Mm,
then, because we haven't really had the talk about racial identity, they don't
mm,
really ask.
mm.
And so I'm like, I
Yeah, and
don't
it's one of
want
those
to.
things you just don't want to introduce it too early if they
Exactly.
don't.
My husband said
Yeah.
it's like Dr. Seuss. He's like, do we know that he's a racist now? Yes. Are we going to tell the kids not to read Dr. Seuss? Or are we going to let them be naive and enjoy why would we put this on them? But then anyone that I talk to is like, you need to prepare them because someone on the playground is going to come up to my daughter and be like, what are you? And she will be so not equipped. She'd be like, a
Mm.
girl? Like she wouldn't have
Right,
no idea how to answer that. So they said, you don't want a kid on the playground to tell her what she is and her not have had it from you. But then I'm like, she also has like anxiety. She's 7. I don't want to put, but guess
right.
what
All
else?
this stuff
Let me
on
put
her.
this
I
on
felt the
you.
same
I
way.
don't know
I
what
felt
is the
the
right
same way.
way to handle it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I waited too. I didn't want to have, these conversations too early because I didn't want my daughters walking around feeling I'm different. I'm different. Like I
Yes.
really wanted them to feel like you, right, like you said, you are a girl, just like every other girl. But it's unfortunate that that children experience things that happen that then, introduce them to something that you don't want them to be exposed to. And so honestly, my husband and I are in that little period right now of, okay, how do we get ahead of some things, right?
Yes.
How do we teach them how to protect themselves, right? Like that was something I was really concerned about because a lot of the women that I know have been sexually abused at
Mm,
young ages, different things like that, and our show touches on that as well. So it's like you don't want to tell them too much, but then you do want to
Yes.
protect them and give them a world view through which they can discern if something
Yes.
is right and wrong. And I think that's what we are working on doing, establishing their worldview so that they are able to discern when something falls outside of that.
I love that. You're not telling them what it is. You're giving them the information and they can kind of discern what they feel about it, come to their own kind of conclusion about it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, and also to create a space where they know you can always talk to mommy, you can always talk
mhm.
to dad. Please come to us. I think that's the shame that a lot of girls and women carry too, because there's so many things that we've suffered with in silence that we were experiencing that we didn't share with other people, that produced a lot of shame. And so we don't want our girls growing up with shame either.
To end it, Squats and Margaritas is about balance. I'm trying to find the balance between my brand and my passion and being a mom and being a wife and the mom guilt of like when I go to speak somewhere, I'm not with my kids and I'm getting a little chatter about that in my ear that I should be with my kids. How do you find the balance or strive for balance as a working actress and mom of 2 young girls and wife?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's not easy. I
No.
feel like that's the first thing. Like, if you can just embrace that, finding balance between being a working mom, and your family and becoming successful in your career. If you kind of just establish that, all right, it's not easy,
Mhm.
right? Then I feel like it takes a little bit of the weight off,
Yeah, true.
right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so it's okay. I'm normal, right?
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm not superwoman, although we are superwomen. Like, let's get it straight. I mean, we're doing so much. But I mean, there's a few things that I've found that have really helped me.
Oh my gosh.
One is I found a wonderful time management technique, which there's a woman named Julie Morgenstern that wrote a book that blessed me years ago, and that I just started working with her as a coach. The book is called Time Management from the Inside Out. And one of the things I love about it is that it's not written like a lot of traditional corporate time management books where it's like you wake up at 5 o'clock and then you work out and then you go to the office. And then while you're at the office, you tell your secretary that da da da. It's like, that is not my life. That was written for a whole white corporate man
Right.
that is not living the life that I'm living.
Right.
Her technique is really about what are the aspects of life that are most important to you, and you begin to categorize your life based upon your goals, right? And based upon the areas of life that are most important to you. So for me, being a child of God is very important to
Yeah.
me, and having a relationship with God, having a relationship with my husband, with my children, as well as having a successful career, and then service, right? And giving back. So let's just say I choose 5 categories. Now it's about assigning a certain percentage of time to each one, and really deciding, like, okay, do you want 50% of your time to
What I was
go to
gonna
the
I was gonna
children?
say
Well,
equally?
right.
Equally
Well,
or
no,
you
you
decide?
decide. And
Okay.
listen, and so because you're deciding, you don't have to worry about judgment and, oh my gosh, she's spending too much time with her kids, or oh my gosh, she's spending too much time at these speaking engagements. Like, this
Mhm.
is about how believe
Nice.
that your life should be set up. And listen, in different seasons, it's going to change. Right now, when from September to January, I was mainly home with my children. Now I'm traveling for press. I'm flying all over the place. I'm in production. I'm filming a new show. I've got another show that's coming out. I'm writing a book. Like, there's a lot of things
Wow.
happening at once. So then it's like, giving yourself the grace to realize that there are some seasons where mommy is at everything and there all the time, and then there's other seasons where mommy's really busy. But what I found that even in the busy seasons, kind of what's become my superpower now. And again, it's all a journey, but when I'm with my family, I try to give them my undivided attention,
Yeah.
because that, I feel, is one of the big things that begins to pull away from a relationship too. When you're there, but your attention is in so many places, that it's undivided attention that makes people believe that you care about them.
Yes.
Taking that individual time the same way that you do with your guests, the same way that I do when I'm on set, right? Like we have to create space of love, right, for the people that we cherish, so that they understand that even when you get busy, you still love them and they feel confident in that.
Yes, beautiful. So The Power is available now on Amazon Prime. Where can people find more from you?
Yeah, sure. So they can follow me on Instagram at Edwina Findley. I'm so new to TikTok. Like I just got on TikTok. I think my handle is at Edwina_Findley.
Okay.
And then Twitter at Edwina Findley, Facebook Edwina Findley Dickerson. But I cannot wait to connect, and I cannot wait to see and hear all of what you all think about The Power.
I cannot wait to watch it. You already sold it to me. I cannot wait. Thank you so much for doing this. And if you ever
Oh,
come
my
back to
pleasure.
work with Tyler, I'm in Atlanta. Or if you work on
Oh,
anything, I'm right here. You can reach
great.
out. I would love to meet you. And
Yes.
I can't wait to watch the show.
Oh, thank you. So wonderful meeting you.